quantum computing. This is a high-level conversation with one of the developers from Microsoft. I want you to heed the warning. Remember, the new oil, the new arms race is quantum computing. You're going to hear a term called quantum supremacy. And it's crazy that this is even that term, and she says that in this video. I want you to open your mind. I want you to really listen. I want you to ask yourself, what could they do with this technology? We have transhumanism on the rise. We know this. We have AI on the rise. We know this. We have the fear of death in every human being that walks on this plane. Because why? They believe in religion. They believe they're going to burn for eternity. They believe if they don't do or listen or believe in this guy who died for their sins, they have a God who created them, who loves them so, that would create them for the sole purpose for burning in eternity. So what are these people trying to do? They're trying to live forever. They're trying to worship a third dimensional reality. They're trying to stay in this plane of existence, which is hell. Who would ever want to stay in a third dimensional reality when there's 11 other dimensions? When you are just a shadow of a higher self. That's why you get moments of deja vu. That is your higher self communicating to you. Yeah, facts. So watch this video. If this scares you, I'm sorry. But let me just say that the truth is stranger than fiction. Soon people will be uploaded into these quantum computings. Elon Musk is literally waiting for the finish of quantum computing before Neuralink is really unveiled. That's why they're starting human trials. Their first human trial has already been successful, where an implant of Neuralink has been successful. Our future is looking really crazy. But I'm going to shut up. I'm going to allow you to watch this video. And I warned you. Oh, I warned you. The truth is stranger than fiction.
What do you think about the reality of quantum computers and what they're going to be used for in the future?
So, funny thing, when I was at Microsoft, they were building the Q-Sharp programming language, which was to simulate quantum computers when they work, and I helped write that language. And so I'll say that I helped write and test it. And so I'll say that quantum computers represent more of a spiritual nature of technological hardware. Everything in life is not this or that. It's this and that. We always exist on everything between a spectrum of something, right? Like, what's the difference between hot and cold? Like, what is the exact degree? It's like somewhere in here, right? And what might be hot to me is different than what might be cold to you. We all exist within this spectrum, even with our own, am I good or bad? It's like we're always somewhere in between. We can fluctuate between them. So right now, all modern computers are built on a 0 or 1, what they call a binary infrastructure, which means it's either on or off, right? Which limits the amount of data that we can store in it, because you can either store if it's on, you can store if it's off. The fundamental beauty of a quantum computer is that instead of it being a light switch, it's a light dimmer. You can store everything between 0 and 1.
Mm-hmm.
So it exponentially opens up in the same chip, the same piece of hardware, to store infinitely more data than just on or off. So imagine you have the challenge with actually building quantum computers comes in the nature of how quantum particles work. So imagine you have a glass table with a bunch of sand in it, right? And I take a magnet and I put it on top of this. What's going to happen? The sand's going to go like this, right? And if I start moving it around, the sand will follow. And then if I take a magnet and I stick it on the bottom, it's going to concave, right? It's going to go like this. So I start moving them around. And then the moment those two magnets get on top of each other, it's going to go back to a neutral state. The sand isn't going to go up or down. It's going to go back into rest. That's called superposition in quantum computing. So basically, they're taking these unpredictable particles, and they're trying to create the exact conditions of chaos to force them to act the way that they want. And they can't. That's why we don't have commercial supercomputers yet. Or the ones that we do are very small in comparison to our big data centers, because they're trying to figure out how to control these particles. Now, once they're able to do that, I do believe it's going to happen, that we're not just in an AI arms race, we're also in a quantum computing arms race. What that will
Quantum
allow us
supremacy.
With quantum supremacy, which is a crazy name. It's the real that's the real scientific name is quantum supremacy. That's what they call it. But it will give us the ability, like we think we can do a lot with computers now, right? So like I'll give you an example. When we pushed the update to Lambda, which is like at Google, the predecessor to Bard, right? It took so much computing power that it maxed out like 5 data centers in the Southeast. So you're talking buildings with enough computing power to run Google search in that region, right? It maxed out their computing power for like 4 days. Where we couldn't do nothing else with those computers except let it push this update to this model. That's how much computing power it takes. With a quantum computer, it would take like 1 chip on 1 little hardware. Because the amount of data that it can store and processing it can do between that 1 and 0 is infinitely more. So the things that you could do with a CIA data center, like the ones they're slapping all in Ohio and slapping all in
Utah,
yeah, all the data centers that they're buying there, you could do with something the size of your cell phone. So now that says, now what can we build? Now we can build computers that are actually human-like. That's when we can have flying cars and have everything always on and have half human, half computers and solve problems we never could. A lot of the reasons we haven't seen even deeper technological advancement in terms of medicine, like being able to predict medicines or understand DNA patterns and what they mean, is because we don't have the computing power.
That's when we get into all the biotech.
That's when you get into a future that, I mean, look what they've done with the technology they have now.
Right.
Now imagine if
People
all
gonna
that
be buying wings out the store.
is in something this big, and then they build data centers of it. Then what does the world look like?